Welcome to the LC3 Family Talk podcast, where we take a deeper look at everything from recent sermons to current events, all through a biblical lens. You'll love the guests and stories you'll hear on LC3 Family Talk, where our goal is connection, community, and relationship with God and with one another. And now, here's your host and one of our pastors, David Pritchard.
Hey, welcome, LC3 family. So glad that you're here. If you're watching, I am holding Hazel, and you can probably tell she looks just like me. Okay, she's not actually mine, but you know, I wouldn't mind claiming her. If you're listening, sorry, you don't get to see how cute she is. But we have a really fun conversation that we're going to have right now with three moms that I have an enormous amount of respect for, and so glad that they've joined us. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves, tell a little bit about your family, and also how you're connected to Lake City.
Hi, I'm Vicki, and my wonderful husband is David. We've been married for 53 years.
Not this David, it's another David, a much cooler David.
And we have two grown daughters, Julie and Becky, who are both married, and we have 9 grandchildren.
I love it.
And we've been at LC3 for 5 years.
Hello, I'm Nancy. I've been following Christ for about 40 years and committed to him when I was in high school. Super grateful for that he drew me in. I've worked at some capacity here at Lake City for quite a while. Currently work here on the leadership team. Let's see, I have 2 kids, and I guess for the context of this conversation, my husband left when they were 9 and 11, and so I've been a single working mom for quite a few years. They're 21 and 23 now, 24, and I now have an incredible son-in-law who loves Jesus, and super fun I love spending time with all of them. So
It's great.
I am Camille. I am mother of 3 daughters, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 7-month-old, and military spouse. So the military brought us here. My husband is in the Army. So we've been here almost 2 years now. The end of the summer will be 2 years at LC3. We walked in and we pretty much knew from the moment we sat in the seats and looked at the bulletin that this is where we wanted to call our church while we were here.
Well, that's great. I have connections to all of them in different ways. Nancy, when I first came on staff here, Nancy was my admin, and in addition to working in children's ministries, and Vicki's kids, we've known them for a long time and have done missions with them and have a great love for them. And then got to meet Camille more recently, but she's part of our family ministry council and is a great voice for parents. And so I'm really excited. Thanks you guys for joining me and having this conversation with me. We're talking about momming or being a mom. And so I'd love to just start with kind of who influenced you. Like I can tell you in my life, I had an uncle, certainly my dad, but I had an uncle that I remember he was just so family oriented. And I just remember going, I want that someday. Mm-hmm. So who is that for you guys?
For me, mine was a little bit more recent. It was like after I had kids. I had a woman in Alaska named Pam Miller, and she was very involved in our church. We taught together at a Christian school shortly, and then she was just super supportive like all through my pregnancy. And when I had my kids, they were like the people who would like stop by like at month 4 or 5 and bring food, because like the first 2 weeks everybody wants to bring you food, but then after that it kind of tapers off. So she was just a really great example of somebody who like supports moms through everything. And she actually ended up watching my daughter for me while I worked at our church up there a few days a week, because it was really easy to work with babies. In the office, it's a lot harder to work with 1.5-year-olds who are walking and climbing up the stairs and ending up in different places of the building they're not supposed to be.
Your first nugget of the interview. There you go.
Yeah. So that was just a huge blessing that they were just so loving to me and my young family.
It's great.
I for sure will say my mom, she's a prayer warrior and loved her a lot. And as I've thought about this question over the years, like who influenced me, it was a group of women. I was part of what's now called MomCo, which Camille's part of, but it's called MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers back then. And there was a table of women. There was a mentor mom who had children that were like high school and beyond. And we just showed up every other Tuesday and did life together. And we held each other's babies and came alongside one another. But just that, having a group of women to be able to have conversations with, to say, is this normal? Am I crazy? Or I'm tired? Or we could complain or ask for prayer. Like, just having a group of women that was steady over the years was very influential for me.
And for me, you're right. It was my mom who is my best example of being a mother. She was a wonderful mother, but she had 3 girlfriends, and they were Vera, Leora, and Ruth. And these family friends were a great model of Christian families with lots of kids. And so I got to see different ways of families reacting. And all these women loved me and paid attention to me. One of them, for example, sewed school clothes for me. So things like that really affected me. When I was a young mom, however, we didn't live by my parents. So in those years, Lars and Ingrid, who were about my parents' age, kind of filled in that gap and became grandparents to our young daughters. And that was really meaningful to me at the time.
I love that. And one of the things that I immediately sticks out is just that idea of legacy, and your mom's passing on to you, and now you're passing on to yours, and then now there's grandkids coming along, and it really is legacy. I mean, it is what, you know, the Bible calls us to. We're going to be talking about momming, and I would love to know the first time that when you knew you were going to be a mom, what was going through your mind?
We waited quite a while to have kids, and so I think you're such a good parent before you have kids. I was like, I got this.
Nugget number 2, there you go.
We were married 9 years before we had our first child, and there was a little bit of a struggle there. And so when I found out I was pregnant, there was just such, you know, when you have to wait for something, it's even sweeter sometimes. Just finding out, I think I had such a heart of gratitude that I was able to get pregnant, that I was able to have children, that God had this for our family. And so I just remember being absolutely grateful. And then also just the designer, you know, designing something in my womb, the creator, God, just having that awe of who he is and just a different perspective on life. So I have great memories of just the gratefulness, being grateful to what God is doing.
I'm so glad you started us that way, because, you know, likely somebody's going to listen to this and go, I'd love to be a mom, but I can't.
Yeah.
I needed to do a different route to become a mom. And we oftentimes just take for granted, like, you know, are you going to have kids? Yes, we're going to have kids. Like, well, you know, sometimes it's not fully, it never is fully in our hands, right? So I love that you started us off that way. It's a good reminder.
For me, Dave and I did want to have kids, but we waited a while too. Maybe you didn't choose to wait, but we chose to wait for a few years, and then we had Julie after 5 years of marriage. And I think I knew I would love our children, but I didn't know how much. From the moment I knew I was pregnant, I loved her so much. And then when Julie and Becky were born, it was just so incredible, and I couldn't even put words to it. Yeah, it was wonderful.
It's great. And you're a little closer to that season.
Definitely. We were about 3 years married when we found out I was pregnant, but it was pretty funny, like how we found out. I was at a job interview for a Christian school to become a teacher, and I remember after the interview, like, I knew these people. I went to church with them. And so after the interview was done, we just like started small talk, and Greg had just gotten back from deployment. And they asked if we were going to start our family soon. And I was like, oh no, definitely not. Like, we're going to wait a year or two. He just got back from deployment, not knowing I was already 4 weeks pregnant. So I got the job. I started working. I worked 2 full-time jobs for 2 weeks, and then found out I was pregnant. And yeah, so finding out was kind of a comical circumstance of like, oh yeah, I thought I knew. Yes. And little did I know it was already in the works. But yeah, I definitely always wanted to be a mom, always saw myself being a mom.
Yeah, we often use the phrase delusion of control, right?
Yes,
Like we think we're in control, and that happens both directions. instructions, right? And so thanks for sharing that. Maybe I'm picking more on you too with this one, but I'd love for you now to go back and think about when you were first starting out, if I would have approached you or another mom approached you and said, what does it mean to be a godly mom?
I think for us, we wanted to, as soon as possible, let our children know about Jesus and bring them up going to church and Sunday school. I guess that was what was in our minds at the time, was that we were definitely going to bring up our children to know the Lord.
I love that.
Such an interesting question. I think I knew that the church was important. I knew being part of a body of believers, being part of community was real important. So I knew that we would be going to church, and I love books, so I knew that we'd be reading little devotionals, and I definitely don't know that I understood as much of some of the conversations that could have been valuable, what was maybe important. We see the temporary in front of us, we see the things that are urgent in front of us, we see social media, what's important, or sports or whatever it is, and try to managing all of life and all of, working and cleaning and all the different things. And I wonder if I understood the value of just important everyday conversations about Jesus. Like, did you see that tree? Do you know who made that tree? Like, I hope I did some of that, but that relationship, or that, person that maybe looks different from us, do you know that person's made in the image of God? Like, just the everyday teachable moments, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if I would have been a little more focused in, but it's hard when you have little kids to even think,
Well, that's a great segue into being a mom is hard. Kelly and I have the opportunity to do a lot of conferences, a lot of conversations with parents and over the years. And when you ask moms, like, what are the hardest things about being a mom? One of the ones that rises to the top, especially in our cultural moment, is just this pressure to do so many things and do them all well, like to just juggle all sorts of things. And, one of the authors that we reference a lot is Shaunti Feldhahn. If you guys have read some things by her, which I would imagine you might have, this quote of hers caught me, and I'd love just you guys to respond to it or comment on it. She said, one of those myths is the idea that you can have it all, or at least have it all at the same time. We're not designed to be able to have it all at the same time. It is killing us when we try. Thoughts?
I know I, as a teenager, not as a mom, struggled with that because I wanted to do all of the things. And so that was something that my mom was very good about, was like, okay, if you're going to pick something else up, what are you going to give up?
That's a smart mom.
Yeah, I think I have been blessed with her teaching me that. And so that's kind of like my lifestyle now, is if I pick something else up, what am I going to give up? And there are certain things that you have to decide, like, you're not going to give up. Like, I'm not going to give up discipleship of my family and spending time with my family. And so, like, everything else has to fall in line under that.
That's good.
I like that too. And I think it's really tempting sometimes to compare with other moms, and we don't even know what's going on in other people's lives, but oftentimes we think that they do everything with ease, like their house is always neat and tidy and their children are always groomed and ready to go on time.
Well, we saw their house on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
Yeah, and so there's that temptation, and then sometimes the embarrassment, like if your child, say, acts up at church or in a social setting, sometimes we are so embarrassed for ourselves and embarrassed for our children, and feel like people might be judging us and so forth. And it's a weight that we carry sometimes that's unnecessary.
I think, I've had this conversation with some friends quite a bit, because there's different capacities, right? Some families that are just high capacity families, they can do 12 events in 1 week and be energized, and they're like thriving. And I'll be like, I just want one thing on my calendar and I might make it, And so I think it's okay. Like, don't like the whole judging piece, like one family, that might be their sweet spot. That might be where they need to be. And so to examine your own life, talk to your own family, realize your own circumstances, if you have a special needs child, or there's some other component, it's going to look different. And
Yeah.
so really hone in, like the communication with your own family is so important. What do we want for our family? What are our core values?
Yeah.
What are non-negotiables? And then if other things get put on, great. We've made space for God to put something else on the plate. But I think to just realize you are your own individual family. God has made you the parents of these children. What is it that he is asking you to do in this season? And it might look different. Maybe a season if you have to stay home for a long
Which is
time.
certainly part of what Shanti's saying here is, we can't have it all at the same
Yes,
time.
yes, yeah.
Like maybe you can have that in a different season,
Right,
but maybe not right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, even seasonally, like I am one of those high capacity people. I like things on my calendar. And I know like early pregnancy for me is really rough. I get very, very sick. And so I have to clear off my schedule. Things that are not important are not gonna happen. And so that's hard for me because I want to do all the things, but I have to recognize my limits and recognize that it is just a season and I'll be able to be busy again. And it's totally worth it. But
But those are such great nuggets. If you're going to pick something up, what are you going to let go? Don't let somebody judge you, right? And seasons change, and definitely families are not always going to look the same.
and don't judge others.
But I mean, I think that's such a good stuff for a young mom hearing this, listening, or a young dad hearing this, feeling the pressure. The reason I took this quote is just I love that last line. It is killing us when we try.
Right.
If we let the social pressure drive what we decide to do, it's killing us. Vicki, were you going to?
I was going to say, I really loved that what both of you said, that the discipling of your own family, your own children is the top priority. So then after that, what can you add on? And sometimes you think it's got to be that you're going to be running every night somewhere doing something, but that isn't always the case. Sometimes it's better to not be running everywhere. Sometimes it's better to have a couple family meals together rather than be running from this sports activity to this one and to another dance recital or whatever it happens to be. It can get to be too much.
Yeah. You brought up family meals. Like we could do a whole podcast just on family meals. I mean, I feel like that's one of those core things that we push families to try to accomplish. But there's so many of those, right? So if somebody's listening, they may be looking and saying, wow, okay, great. These three are perfect and they do this so well. I'm doomed. I'd love just maybe let's lighten it up a little. I'd love to hear maybe a funny moment, an embarrassing moment, a moment where you went, yikes, parenting fail.
I'm pretty early in my parenting for like an epic fail, but I definitely see just like little things that I try and to an extent laugh them off if I can. But recently my 4-year-old has hit the like tantrum stage, and for the first time last week, or I guess a couple weeks ago now, she stomped her feet and she crossed her arms and she very indignantly told me, I don't like you, I like daddy. And I'm trying to get her in the car to go to either Momco or Bible study or something, and I was like, that's fine, you still gotta get in your car seat. Like, I don't care if you don't like me right now, but you gotta get in your car seat. And I thought it was just so funny because I'd been waiting, because I always had heard, like, sometimes it's very devastating when you hear your child doesn't like you, but I'd been expecting it to come.
Someone warned you.
So when it did come, I just laughed at it. And then my 2-year-old also had a moment where she's very hard to get in trouble because she's so darn adorable. And so she was blowing raspberries at the dinner table. And we were trying to be very good parents and teach table manners and be like, no, Violet, you can't blow raspberries at the dinner table. And she looks my husband in the eye and her eyes get this big, and she's got these big, beautiful eyes already. Her eyes get this big and she goes, and like gets ready to blow this raspberry, and me and my husband lose it. We just start laughing. Like there was nothing else we could do. We just started like belly rolling, like tears down our face, laughing. And she was so shocked she didn't even blow the raspberry because she's like, what just happened?
That's how you do it.
So we don't have epic fails yet. We have moments where we're like, that probably wasn't the wisest choice in how to respond, but sometimes you just have to delight in the mischief of these children.
And you're right. Sometimes you just have to laugh. I mean, you just have to laugh at yourself and laugh at the moment.
Yes.
My kids are at the age where they're starting to tell me stories of what really happened.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness.
And that's actually kind of fun. So I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, oh, man. The one that comes to mind quickly is, so my son would quite frequently get in trouble. And we had different ways of disciplining. We probably weren't consistent and probably wasn't great. But one of mine was we had this old timer that would, you'd turn the timer and go, like, okay, go to your room. There's a timer. When it dings, come out. And honestly, it was totally for me. Like, I just need a break. Like, give me the 3-minute timer or whatever. And so I would send him up and then I would go on and forget about it. He'd come down. Everything was well. Well, he told me he would constantly just turn the timer. So it was like probably half the time. And it would ding and I'm like, okay, like, wow, 10 minutes goes by fast. And I had no idea. So anyway, he was smart. But...
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was trying to think. We had, I think some of the most epic fails were at family reunions, which was like a 3-day event once a year. And so we'd get to these reunions and things would happen at these reunions that we had not encountered with our kids before. And then here in front of relatives, and speaking of feeling judged,
Yes.
you have these moments of like misbehaving children or something coming up, some kind of conflict with cousins or something. And then you just feel like you're back on your heels. You didn't anticipate this certain thing coming up, or you would have talked to your child ahead of time about it. And then you're caught in the situation of thinking, oh my word, they're all judging us about our children, so some of those. And I felt the same way sometimes in church, because I don't think we had a nursery at the church we belonged to. But we would be trying to train our children to sit nicely in church. And sometimes I didn't want to take them out at the first squeak. Right. Because I was wanting to train them to not think that they could just make a squeak and then we'd just take them right out. And so sometimes I felt like I just wanted to wear a big sign like, I know.
Training my child.
I know we're a little disruptive right now, but I'm actually trying to wait my child out a little bit so that...
We need those signs.
Yes. Well, as we moved, when I came on staff, one of the reasons I came on staff was as a church, we made a very intentional decision to become a family equipping church. And so that was one of the conversations we had as a staff early on, was to make sure we were all on the same page that, hey, we want parents to feel comfortable having their kids in church with them if that's what they want to do, which means they're going to be a little disruptive at times. And, and my favorite line, I've used it a lot, is just so you know, your child is bothering you a lot more than they're bothering us.
And thank you for that. We belonged to a church before moving down here where we didn't know who belonged to who in terms of children and their parents, because only the adults were in church.
Yeah.
And so we didn't know people as families. And I love it here because we actually have friends with that are teenagers and younger kids in the church, and this was not our experience at our previous church. We didn't even know who went together. So thank you for that. I really love that. And children likewise are hearing their parents sing, seeing their parents worship and pray. And if they're never with their parents, when are they going to see them doing that in a corporate setting?
Yes.
So it's great. Yeah, I'm so glad.
Well, it's a shift for some people. They get uncomfortable, but to all those reasons, I would say amen. And the beauty is at Lake City, in addition to that, all of that, we have a fantastic children's department. And so if somebody doesn't want to or wants to alternate, like they have their options, they have their choices. And they're all good.
With Momco, we ask them, what are you looking forward to the most? And it's like fellowship with mom, like a good speaker, and one of the options is childcare. And I always greatly respect the moms who are like, childcare. Please take my kids for 2 hours. Mom needs a break.
Well, I'm guilty. When I tell people about Momco, I lead with that. There's free childcare, and here's what they do.
Yes, coffee.
That's perfect.
Well, so I am not a mom.
Thanks for sharing.
Yes. So I get to represent all the husbands out there, all the dads out there. I would love to know what's the best thing they can do. What's the best way that they can support you in your role as mom? What's the best thing they can do to support their wives when it comes to being a mom?
You're looking at me, so I'll go ahead and start. I have so many thoughts about that. So may I just make a little list?
Yeah, please.
A little list. One is, I love it when dads show that they love mom. That's so important, and say words that help the children know that you love mom. That's really great. And then because mom's job generally is a 24/7 job, whether they're working outside of the home also or not, it still seems to be that it's 24/7 for.
Well, let me affirm that. All the research shows that even when both mom and dad work outside the home, the mom tends to pick up the bulk of the homemaking. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not advocating that's what should happen. I'm just saying whether we agree with that or not, the research is pretty clear on that.
So, for husbands and fathers to say words of appreciation is important, but also if you see something that needs doing, maybe the dishwasher needs emptying or clothes need to be folded, it doesn't need to be exclusively the mother that's doing all these tasks. If you just look around and see, oh, maybe I could pick up those toys, or I could encourage the kids, or read a story to them, or give mom a break so she can go take a walk. Any of those things are so wonderful.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Just as a single mom, I just want to give huge kudos to men in the church. Obviously you've been a big part of our family, but Daniel, especially my son, had a lot of really godly men in his life that said, yes, I will take you in, I will mentor you, I will disciple you, I will correct you. So it's a large task. The dads are busy and they have families and work. And so when you step out of that into another family's life, that's probably my greatest gift I've had in this season, is having other men step in and disciple my children, and also godly marriages. Like having godly marriages that my kids can see has been instrumental in their lives. Like I have a strong confidence that my kids will have godly marriages because of what they've seen in this church. And so that's been just instrumental. So mentoring is such a big thing. And then in your own marriage, dads, love your wives, love Jesus. And that's a huge testament to the rest of the kids in the church.
Yeah. It's good.
For me, it's kind of two-part. One, kind of building off if you need help, that's definitely a big one. But it's don't let just the moms be the expert in the kids. The dads need to be dads. And so, the moms, if dad's doing something slightly different than you would, if they're brushing teeth first and then putting jammies on, don't tell them they're wrong. Just let them do it. Because if you start nitpicking on things, they're not going to want to help you, because who wants to help somebody who always tells you you're wrong? And so, as the mom, the dad he's capable of being a parent as well. God gave him these children because he's capable of being their parent, just like he gave them to you because you're capable of being their parent. So twofold is that, dad, don't think that only your wife knows how to take care of your kids. You are capable of taking care of your children. And so when especially you see mom needs a break, take care of your kids, so that you can take care of your wife, and then your wife can continue to take care of you guys.
Well, I will tell you, Kelly would be all over that one. She would be going, amen. That is probably one of her big messages to moms is, when they're putting a diaper on, don't criticize them because they don't put it on
just like you
exactly the way you do it. If they get dressed and they've got plaid on flat or whatever, she said, hey, they're dressed.
If you just look around and see, oh, maybe I could pick up those toys, or I could encourage the kids, or read a story to them, or give mom a break so she can go take a walk. Any of those things are so wonderful.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Just as a single mom, I just want to give huge kudos to men in the church. Obviously, you've been a big part of our family, but Daniel, especially my son, had a lot of really godly men in his life that said, yes, I will take you in, I will mentor you, I will disciple you, I will correct you. It's a large task. The dads are busy and they have families and work. And so when you step out of that into another family's life, that's probably my greatest gift I've had in this season, is having other men step in and disciple my children, and also godly marriages. Having godly marriages that my kids can see has been instrumental in their lives. I have a strong confidence that my kids will have godly marriages because of what they've seen in this church. And so that's been just instrumental. So mentoring is such a big thing. And then in your own marriage, dads, love your wives, love Jesus. And that's a huge testament to the rest of the kids in the church.
Yeah, it's good.
For me, it's kind of two-part. One, kind of building off if you need help, like that's definitely a big one. But it's don't let just the moms be the expert in the kids. Like the dads need to be dads. So like the moms, if dad's doing something slightly different than you would, if they're brushing teeth first and then putting jammies on, don't tell them they're wrong. Just let them do it. Because if you start nitpicking on things, like they're not going to want to help you, because who wants to help somebody who always tells you you're wrong? And so like as the mom, like the dad he's capable of being a parent as well. Like God gave him these children because he's capable of being their parent, just like he gave them to you because you're capable of being their parent. So twofold is that dad, don't think that only your wife knows how to take care of your kids. Like you are capable of taking care of your children. And so when especially you see mom needs a break, like take care of your kids so that you can take care of your wife, and then your wife can continue to take care of you guys.
Well, I will say Kelly would be all over that one. She would be going, amen. That is probably one of her big messages to moms is when they're putting a diaper on, don't criticize them because they don't put it on
like you
exactly the way you do it. If they get dressed and they've got plaid on flat or whatever, she said, hey, they're dressed,
Exactly.
If you want their help, she used to put up with me carrying our kids like a football and
it's one less kid she had to carry.
Exactly.
I observed that. I was involved with early childhood for a number of years, and one thing that gave me a little sense of humor was I'd see moms day after day would pick up their children and help them with their coats and whatnot. And then we would do a Father's Night, and the dads would come and spend an evening with the preschoolers at the school. And when it was time to leave, the dads just walked out the door. Well, my goodness, the kids just got their own coats and put them on. And they followed right along behind their dad. They didn't really need assistance.
Or they walked to the car without a coat and nobody died.
Yes.
Right. So it was kind of funny to see the difference, but the children did find both ways, and and they got to the car.
My mom used to say, just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah.
And so they might do things differently. It doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and I would add one other nugget. So this is sort of coming from the dad's side, is your kids benefit from both sides. We do bring different pieces to it. And we often say the mom is the protector, the guardian, and the dad is the one who prepares them for the world. And obviously those are big brush strokes, but it speaks into kind of some of the things that you're talking about. So, well, I love that. So I want to give you guys a chance just to share for moms out there listening, like what little nugget would you give them?
My kind of like life verse has always been Esther 4:14, that you were created for such a time as this. And I've kind of morphed that into like for motherhood, like you were created for these kids, and even more so like your kids were created for such a time as this. And I know that there's like uncertain times in the world, and like we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen next year, but like God knew exactly what was going to happen when he put our kids on earth at this time. And so just like fully trusting in the fact that they were made for the life that they're going to lead. And that it's just our job to kind of run alongside them for what God has prepared for them.
Love that.
That's beautiful. I had a conversation in a meeting the other day, and I asked, what do you find lovely about your mom? And everybody shared, everybody had an answer right away, and everybody has different kinds of moms too, right? And I just was struck. I wasn't planning on it, but I was struck. Everybody's answer ended up being something that the way their mom lived and showed some value in their life. And it wasn't, they were successful in their job, or they had a great wardrobe, or the house was clean, or perfect meals, but it was they taught me about Jesus, or they modeled volunteering, or they prayed, or they brought in the homeless, or there's these values that these moms had that made the impact on all of us as their children. And I was just so struck that
So you don't have to be a superhuman.
you will not be a superhuman. But
You will kill yourself.
But I think as Christ followers, if that's our primary relationship if that's what we pursue, if we pursue Christ, pursue God, living in obedience, that's going to be modeled to our children. And when they're grown and adults, they're going to look back and say, that was what was of value. Like, obviously they loved me and they took care of me. But what really, as I think about my own mom, the values that she had made the biggest impact on me over any meal she made or any conversation. I think the way she lived has made the biggest impact on me. And so I think looking back or looking at young moms, like, what do you believe? Are you a Christ follower? Then pursue him first, and then God, he will let these other things come together. And it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be messy. It's going to be hard, but that's your firm foundation. Then your family's firm foundation also can be built on that same thing. And we will weather storms. There will be hard times. And as we have that foundation and model that to our children, then hopefully they'll see that of value and when they get older. So, yeah.
Love that.
I would say my advice is for both moms and dads, and that would be to pray with your children out loud, and hopefully even on a daily basis if you're able to do that, and read Bible stories with them. Really engage the children in their spiritual life and don't relegate it to another place. You can supplement really well with Awanas or Sunday school and so forth, but make the home the primary place where you do that. And along with praying over and with your children, pray blessings over them. The blessing of Aaron, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you, and so forth. If those kind of repetitive words are said over your children, they really take it into their heart. I was a school teacher too, Camille, and so I was thinking about, I did that with my school kids too. And when you do that, that's sometimes they won't remember all that much, maybe about second grade or fourth grade or whatever, but my students have remembered that we said that at the end of the day. It penetrated their hearts,
Thanks. What I love about this, and what I hope feels encouraging, moms out there, is none of them just shared a nugget that is way out there and feels so overwhelming. Like, be encouraged for such a time as this. I mean, these are pray over your children and
pursue him first.
But I mean, but it's the simple things like,
Wait, can I answer for you though?
Yes.
So your parenting advice? Begin with the
end in mind.
So when Julia was a baby, you said to me, begin with the end in mind. And that has stuck with me ever since. And I remember thinking, when she's an adult, I want her to love Jesus. So every decision I make up to that point is going to be shaped by her loving Jesus. And because we have some mental illness on both sides of our family, I knew being outside and living nature would be instrumental in their lives. And so we played outside as much as possible, rain or shine. So, I mean, kids are formed by that great piece of advice.
But that's so good because, when you are a new mom, you're just trying to survive, to be encouraged to go, hey, look, try to look ahead. Yeah, my two pieces would be begin with the end in mind, and my other one would be, no matter what they come to you with, we love you and we're going to get through this.
Great line.
That they always know, we love you, we'll get through this.
Because it's going to be hard.
Yeah, because it's going to be messy.
Yeah.
At least the first 40 years of parenting.
I love that, and I also want to say, you are the best mother for your children. You are the best. So have the confidence that you are the best. I know a lot of times I thought, I see all these other people who are so much wiser than I am, and I just don't have what they have, and then that's just not true.
That's the enemy.
Yeah, no one loves your child like you do.
Yeah.
You're the best for that child, and just have that confidence that you're the best. And when you want wisdom, ask the Lord for wisdom, because Scripture says that if you ask for wisdom, He will give it to you generously.
And that's a great way to wrap us up, because we believe at Lake City that parents are the first and best disciplers, the primary disciple maker of their children. That's really why we do this. We want the disciple makers out there to know that they can do this. They can do this. So thanks so much for sharing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for connection, community, and relationship here on LC3 Family Talk. See you next time.